Hi, everybody. Just Darien. And first, I want to give a huge thank you to any of our listeners who came out and saw us at Gem State Comic-Con this year. It was our first time doing that kind of panel, and honestly, we feel like it turned out super great. It was really fun. Thank you so much for being there. And hey, if you saw us at Gem State and then started listening to this podcast and then got to this episode, thank you so very much. That's awesome. It was super cool. Fun seeing everybody there. Fun times all around. Definitely something we want to do more of. You will potentially get a recording of that panel. It does depend on how that audio turns out, which fellow panelist and friend of the show, Leo, aka the Geek Scorpio over from Gaming Theater Presents, he recorded this one, and we are going to see what that sounds like. So fingers crossed. So obviously, this episode is not the live recording, nor is it the next episode diving into our Egyptian mythology series. The aforementioned Gem State Comic-Con panel took a little more out of me than I had anticipated, so we are not ready to release that episode just yet. But to make it up to all of y'all, we wanted to share one of our very recent ReMyth episodes. This is the first of our series covering Epic the Musical, featuring the Trojan Saga. This was a very fun episode to work on, and it's been a very fun series to go through as me and DJ experience Epic the Musical for the first time. So if you like this and want to hear more of that, you can check it out over on our Patreon. Oh, DJ isn't here, so I have to do it myself. Let me channel my best DJ as possible. Patreon.com/Muses of Mythology. You better believe it. We've got these Epic the Musical episodes going up, as well as Muses. Yes, Muses, it's coming. We are already got our next episodes, 12 each year available for you now. How about that? How was my DJ impression for you all? Okay, I'll stop talking. Thank you again. Thank you for your patience. Promise we will be back with a proper episode in 2 weeks. Until then, let's go back to the show. Okay, dude. Oh, hey, Lachlan's calling.
Lachlan, you're on the pod.
Hi, Lachlan. DJ says hi.
Hi.
You're listening to the February ReMyth episode. This is where we talk about how ancient myths become part of modern pop culture outside of Rick Riordan's The Kane Chronicles. I'm your co-host on a break from reminding my mentee to get his act together, Darien Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, hailing from the island of the Lotus Eaters, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? The Lotus is actually pretty good. You should give it a try.
You should not give it a try. We cannot condone that.
Do it. It's tangy, a little tart sometimes.
Just have some sweet tarts. Some Sour Patch Kids, DJ.
It's just not the same. There's something about just biting into it,
Oh, it's a texture thing?
Yeah. Well, it's
Get
it's
a
a texture
Brayburn
thing.
apple.
No.
Brayburn
apple.
No, DJ. You know in Disney's Snow White from 1933?
Mm-hmm.
1937?
I know of it.
Yeah. And Tim's going to correct me on which year it actually is.
It's going to be 35.
No, it's not. It's because this is definitely not the 100 that's, doesn't matter. When Snow White bites into the apple, and just that texture, you imagine that apple must be soft, but with structure. Brayburn apples. That's what a Brayburn apple feels like biting into it.
The lotus fruit is a little more like a mango.
Like a mango, you say? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's got, as I said, it's got that tangy and tartness to it that you just can't find anywhere else.
So, hey, y'all, we're talking about Epic.
We're talking about the Odyssey again.
Well, it's a big one. It's kind of a big one in the field.
It is.
We are talking about Epic, the musical. Specifically, the first of the concept albums, Troy Saga.
Kind of bold releasing these albums without, any visuals for the musical.
I mean, they're concept albums. It's okay. Actually, how much do you know about
making a musical?
About Epic?
Nothing.
Weird, because we need to make that Christmas Carol musical.
Eventually. I don't know anything about Epic. The first time I heard about it was a month ago, I think. And then I saw it
really?
Popping up. Yeah, unless you're talking about that one movie where they shrink down to size. Do you remember this movie? It was an
Epic. Yeah. Is that one with?
I couldn't tell you who it's with. I have no clue. I just know it was some kid.
Yeah. Okay. So this has not appeared on your feed. This has not ended up on your. You and I have very different algorithms.
Oh yeah.
because I have been aware of Epic for a while now because it is algorithm cat. I am the one that runs our Instagram, and so it's a Greek mythology podcast.
Yeah. So
have
it
fed
comes across,
the algorithm what I want to see, and so it is a series of concept albums with music and lyrics by, I think this gentleman it's Jorge or George.
Mm-hmm.
I've only read it. Jorge Rivera Herens. Jorge Rivera Herens. That's probably Herens. It's 2 R's right next to each other. It's a sung-through adaptation. It began production in 2019 as part of his senior thesis at the University of Notre Dame.
Nice.
Yeah. And it started becoming popular in 2021 when he started posting videos of his creative process on TikTok. So the first one that came out was the Troy Saga in December 22, followed by the Cyclops Saga in early 23, but then it was, quote, stuck in development hell for a year. DJ, do you want to guess why that had happened?
COVID.
No.
He got cancer.
No.
He got ill.
No.
Death in the family?
No.
I have no idea.
Okay, so it has to do with why, even though the Troy Saga is the first one, when you go on Spotify, it is almost one of the most recent ones because the album that you find says it's from 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is. Because the reason it was in development hell is because the recording company filed a lawsuit against him alleging that they owned the full copyright to these first 2 albums. And that's just some bullshit.
I guess we would have to look at the contract, but
that's still some bullshit.
Yeah, it still
like
sucks.
He's the one that wrote it and did the lyrics and does this.
Why you gotta read the fine print?
Listen, we all know record companies are mostly evil.
Publishing companies are not.
They're not. No, these are not. They are.
You gotta really comb that contract.
So he filed a countersuit and
managed to get them back.
Essentially what he did was he founded his own independent recording company called Winian Entertainment, and then re-recorded the first 2 sagas. So we took a page from Taylor Swift, and we're just going to re-record this shit.
Yeah.
So after that is when we
Is that why the animatics sounded so different to the version that I listened to?
Yeah. Because a lot of the animatics are a lot older. Okay. And so there are it's like largely the same, but you're right. There's certain beats and certain things. And often if you're going to revisit your work a couple years later,
you're just going to sound differently. Even NSP, they had their like All-Stars album, and then the album that they're running right now, where they're just remaking their songs instead of using like just using like real instruments and not like the computer programs that they had to use at the time.
Yeah, and I bet it sounds awesome.
That sounds great. I love it.
It has been stated that 2 video games are in production, along with talks for a stage adaptation, a possible animated film, and a planned 3rd video game. Okay,
what's special about Epic? That's not just like, if you remove Epic, it wouldn't just be like an Odyssey thing.
Well, right, okay, that is interesting, because I don't know how the musical aspect becomes part of the video game.
You could be, I guess, maybe. I mean,
you have they would have cool soundtracks. Like, don't get me wrong, we love
Here's
Hades.
The thing,
the
you could probably do a Crypt of the Necrodancer style game, and maybe it is right. And that kind of game is it's like a dungeon crawling roguelike where you can move and attack to the beat of the song that's currently playing.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have I'm looking at the original article from The Guardian to see if I can have like details about like when they say we're wanting to do a video game, like what does that mean for this?
Because it's like if the guy has only released these albums, what is like the world building that makes Epic so specifically different from the Odyssey that I would know that it's Epic based on these other things, aside from maybe the title line being Epic, insert subtitle.
Well, I mean, from the jump, it takes a pretty strong deviation from the Odyssey and the way these characters behave. Because, well, to start, it starts with the sacking of Troy and the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Right, so that's our first song. Oh, well, let's be clear. You probably got this, but we are only talking about the Troy Saga.
We're only talking about the Troy Saga.
We are
now.
going to do this. I think here's the thing: ReMyth episodes for the rest of the year may be this, with a brief break to do the next volumes of Lore Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
We have a ritual. We will
Yep.
not break that.
Yep.
But this is how we're going to go into Epic, and I'm very satisfied with this approach because I think it'll allow us to spend more time in the Odyssey. And I've cards on the table. Kind of miss talking about the Odyssey. Maybe an
properly
Odyssey
talking
girly.
about the Odyssey,
Properly talking
not
about
like
the
we did
Odyssey.
last time.
So the first of the songs is The Horse and the Infant. It literally opens with Odysseus rallying the troops of Greece as they are about to sack this walled city of Troy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how the Odyssey opens, obviously. Also, that's also not a story in
The Odyssey.
the Iliad, as we talked about. The Iliad ends with the final Odysseus, Achilles allowing the Trojans to take Hector's body back, and him finally
dying.
No, he doesn't even die at the end of the Iliad. We don't get that. That's other things in between.
Okay.
So we get that, so the sacking of Troy, the battle, and then we also find him encountering Hector's son.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know this story, DJ?
No.
I was aware of it because I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in Madeline Miller's Circe. I'm pretty sure that's why I know that that's a thing that happens, is that during the sacking of Troy, Odysseus comes upon Hector's infant son and kills him.
Nice.
Davis!
Get that bitch. End the bloodline.
Which is what Zeus is telling him to do in the song.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard... I've heard bits and pieces of songs from Epic. This is my first... People were shocked. This is my first time listening through.
Mm-hmm.
I have not even heard a single song all the way through.
You've just seen the animatics.
I've seen the animatic, and I've seen the cosplay lip sync videos.
Yeah.
And also, I've used those sound bites for our own ones. I've done them twice. I did one from God Games, which is a way later one with Hera and Athena.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a remix of Dangerous, which is a Hermes song with Apollo and Aphrodite talking about how they're gonna get Achilles to fight Hector. And it involves killing Patroclus. So, yeah. People might be mad to find out that I did that. I mean, I know what Epic's about. I was just waiting. I was waiting to interact with it.
Yeah.
And this is the time. So I listened to the Spotify album. I listened to it twice in a row, and my intent was to listen to it at least 3 times, and I couldn't do it because the end of this song and the next one made me too goddamn sad. And I don't know if it's having to kill an infant is sad.
Yep.
Right? It's objectively sad. But
That's
I'm
rough.
do I find this more sad now because I am an adult person
with babies in your life?
With babies in my life, and that is too upsetting, and especially having spent this weekend on Easter with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that what is making this so too real for me to be able to engage with? Or am I PMSing?
I don't know.
And it's really hard to tell on that latter one because I'm on the depot shot, and I don't get my period on the depot shot. Shout out to the depot shot. If you're someone who menstruates and you're like, this sucks, talk to your doctor about the depot shot. It doesn't have to be that way. So I'm really emotional. I'm like, why? And I don't even get the trigger of I was just PMSing. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have that, but my hormones still do the cycle. So I'm like, But it was too goddamn sad. And you know what really made me mad?
Huh.
Because I've definitely heard that line of when does a man become a monster? When does a comet become a meteor? Like that. I've heard that a lot. It's great.
It's a great
I understood the buildup of when does a thing that starts out small and simple become so much more destructive. Didn't know the context of him killing a baby. Bums me the fuck out, man.
Yeah.
And then he does it. He drops him off the wall of Troy. I think sometimes he content warning, gruesome, smashes his skull against the ground and bashes his head in. But there are versions where Odysseus drops him off, or the baby, whose name is Astyanax? Sure.
Yeah.
And so he is obviously another character who is not mentioned in the Iliad, but appears in the Little Iliad, which is a lost epic of the cycle. And then a couple other versions where he's actually killed by a different guy who throws him off the walls.
Mm-hmm.
But in another version, which is given in Ilia Paris, also known as the Sack of Troy, which is another lost epic of this cycle, it is Odysseus who kills him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's not always Odysseus, but it's actually often Odysseus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I think to answer your question, like, how do you know, like, what makes it epic and not just the Odyssey? I think it's because of Riveros Hernandez's the specific details he chooses to weave into his Odysseus. Because, spoiler alert, from what things I know about Odysseus from the songs and beats I've heard, this Odysseus is a very distinct character.
Mm-hmm.
He is almost unrecognizable. That's not true. I don't want to say. So, like, Disney's Hercules to Hercules of Greek myth.
Yeah.
You can tell that's Hercules, but if you compare the two men, those are not the same guy.
Yeah.
You can tell that's Odysseus, but if you compare the two men, that's not the same guy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
It is, he has created a very distinct, like Lore Olympus.
I guess I'll just have to, well, like, even Lore Olympus, it's got its own style. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I guess it's hard to visualize something going from a non-visual medium and auditory only medium into that also doesn't have any descriptors, period. Like this, it just doesn't. Right?
Well, can you?
And it's a musical.
Like
I guess I'm not expecting descriptors because it's a musical. There's supposed to be a visual element to it, but
yes, that's the thing.
There's a reason I didn't listen to Hamilton until I watched it on Disney Plus. There's a reason I didn't listen to Wicked until I watched it on the play. Right? There's a reason I don't listen to things that I know that are musicals until I see them because the visual part is important to that.
I agree, and I'm actually the same way. I think what makes Epic very remarkable is that you can watch the entire thing through animatics. Did you watch any animatics?
I watched one that you sent me.
Okay. My bad. Next time, I will assign the homework clearer. Watch the animatics, because at this point, I feel like
if I'm going to like start watching through things, but it's like 6 different artists and it's 6 different art styles, and I'm just like,
oh, you don't like that? Well, I
not
love
particularly.
That. Oh,
if I'm trying to watch
that
one,
delightful.
If I'm trying to watch like one continuous story, I'd like it to be all in the same art style. There was a fan project like years ago where it was just people reanimated Shrek.
Yeah.
And it was like hundreds of different artists. They all did like 6 or 7 second tidbits of the whole movie. And I'm like, this is great. This is really cool. I'm not watching this.
Interesting. See, I love that kind of thing. I love seeing multiple artists all work on a thing and where it transitions. Like, I like watching a collection of animatics where each scene is done by a different artist, because I feel like it, to me, is a beautiful representation of the living fan community around this thing and how it has impacted and touched so many different people and inspired them and their creativity in so many different ways. And I think that's also what I find really special about Epic, is that it has inspired listen, there's a ton. Like, I can scroll. Okay, there is one that I started watching that I think it's just one person who did the whole thing. And so, because I watched 5, and I was expecting it to be a different one every time, but I realized as I finished, I'm like, that was the same artist every single song. So I think they have literally done an animatic for the whole thing. So that will solve us there. But that's the other thing, is like, I also went and then I watched like 3 different versions of Warrior of the Mind. Because again, could not do the infant death. So I did not watch a bunch of animatics of those first 2 songs, even though I'm sure there's some really great animatics of the second song. Oh God, what is the second song called? Monster? Is it just called Monster? Really cool though. I'm gonna link the animatics that I watched. But the one that I did watch, when it ends with him carrying the baby to the wall and letting go, it switches color schemes. It doesn't show the whole thing anymore. It just is Odysseus's hand letting go, like opening. You don't even have like the child anymore. And it's like inverted the colors. And that was very impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Because, go on.
It's just not to say I hate every single project that does something like that, right? Game Grumps and JonTron had their own thing. Game Grumps did it for like a specific episode of Battle Kid it's iconic if you know it. It's fucking crazy. And then JonTron did one for him covering Katy Perry's Firework.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
Right? Like,
yeah.
So it's not to say, I guess my statement on that was a little too harsh, but I don't.
It's not your jam.
It's just,
It's okay.
And maybe it's also animatics just don't do it for me most of the time.
See,
I like the animation.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rough to do like a choppy. And I know that's like a step in the process. Don't get me wrong. And but most of the time, it's not going anywhere. That's the end product. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I don't peruse animatics for like things that I've like listened to or watched or something like that. That's just not my thing that I do.
I'm definitely very into animatics because the animations for My Brother and Me always fill me with endless delight. I got into the Adventure Zone because my friend Dylan was like, here you go, Dylan. Or here you go, Dylan. Darien, what if you watched this animatic of this silly elf making macaroons for their boss for fantasy Christmas? And I'm like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. And so that's it. I don't usually engage with musicals until I've actually seen it. I did watch all of the animatics for 6 before I got a chance to see it. I was just like really depressed one day.
And just like, I was
on YouTube and it popped up and I was like, that's a good song. Let's see all of them. And I like especially getting it to be in a medium that it's not already. Like musicals being an animatic, I really like, and obviously podcasts and audio and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my buddy Dalton once said that he thinks that animation is the perfect medium for a musical. And I'm like, holy shit, yeah, he's right.
To a degree, yeah, I agree.
Because it's the unreality of a world where there is song like that.
Yeah.
Is so great. And especially when it's like magic like this. Like and the gods and these like larger than life set pieces, which you can see, like there are musicals that have like massive larger than life set pieces. But it's a very expensive and there are limitations. Whereas if you're doing an animation, Athena can look like whatever the fuck you want. She can be a towering 12-foot winged goddess over Odysseus the whole time. And that doesn't look weird because everybody's drawn in animation style. They all look like they belong together.
Yeah.
There's one way later. I just want to talk about it because my buddy Dalton pointed it out to me. But it's Athena has to go to the various gods and convince them to be on her side. And when she engages, and she's in her armor the whole time, and she engages with Aphrodite, and she's in her armor at the start of it, when Aphrodite blows her off, this animatic shows her turning and like grabbing onto like Aphrodite's arm, and then she's not in her armor anymore. And she is in like a simple like Grecian gown where she is no longer the warrior goddess, she is the civilization goddess, trying to appeal to Aphrodite. And that's not to say you couldn't do that with like camera editing and stuff in like live action, or you couldn't do like a really creative way to do that on stage, but the smoothness of it in animation just really struck me.
Yeah.
And so I like also how Epic has the idea of it getting to be an animated film. I hope they're able to realize, because I feel like this has largely exist and spread through fan animation.
Yeah.
And it would be wonderful to see that realized.
It would be neat. I would I guess I'm just, after now, since all the legal battles are over, I assume.
Yeah, they own this.
I wonder where it's going to go.
Well, apparently these 2 video games are in production.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He just
What kind of game? If they're in production, then you have an idea of what kind of game you want.
The Guardian they didn't say in the Guardian article. Maybe I missed it. I was just skimming it real quick. But it's like 2 games are in production, a possible 3rd on the way, and in talks to do the stage and the film. And of these, I'm most excited for an animated film. That would be really cool. One fun fact about the anime. I mean, obviously, you have a bunch of different artists. They're going to get like different visuals. more often than not, the characters are gonna look like the actors. So if you see a Odysseus, it's probably gonna look like Jorge. There's Pilates. He's wearing glasses. I think that's because the singer also wears glasses. I can't be sure, but that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because why is he always in glasses?
Jorge has apparently expressed interest in a fighting game for Epic. Yeah. And that's kind of crazy.
I mean, listen, here's my characters. Because it's based off like anime and musicals and all these things that he likes. So why not be like, hey, I made this story I really like. I'm going to turn it into every medium that I like. And it's like, fuck yeah, man.
If you can manage it,
do
it.
Run it. Why not? Why be limited? So good for him. What did you think of Zeus chiming in The Horse and the Infant?
I didn't realize it was Zeus.
You didn't realize it was Zeus? Oh, who'd you think it was?
Narrator.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't... I listened to it like 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And listening through, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. But I was like playing a game at the time too. And so the voice was going, and then I'd hear like Odysseus respond to it. I'm like, yeah, it's probably just like a narrator. It's not like that's uncommon in these kinds of mediums, right? As a character responding to a narrator.
Okay, yeah. I think I just knew it was Zeus because I
had consumed kind of this thing.
I know the
a little more than I have.
Gods speak to him and engage with him, but like if I came in totally blind, would I have known? I may have also thought it was a narrator. That's totally fair. I don't want to talk about the baby dying anymore. Actually, it's making me actively too sad. The songs are great. It's so interesting. It's just like, that's so frustrating of like Odysseus pleading, being like, nah, I'll raise him like my son. I'll send him far away. He'll never know. He'll never know his past. And then there's this line where like, the gods will make it known.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, it doesn't matter what you do.
It's fate.
It's not even fate in this one because it feels less fate, divine providence. Because if it was fated, then it is just fated. You will kill him no matter what. Mm-hmm. But it's that line of the gods will make it known.
They did say blood will be on your hands. It's your choice whether it's yours or someone else's.
Yes.
That is a line.
Yeah.
And so it's arguably like it's a fate.
I can see that. I think it's like that is the thing. It's like, for me, I think it felt like I was interpreting it as really leaning into the elements of the Iliad that are the results of the gods just treating humans like their playthings. Mm-hmm. Just trying to get them to do what they want for their own entertainment. And that the gods forcing Odysseus on what should be like this brutal but triumphant moment of like, we finally are ending the war. Like, I am finally ending this war and I get to go home. This last beat forcing him to kill a baby who is no older than his son was when he left 10 years ago. And with that line of like, oh, if you don't kill him, the gods will make sure he knows because we will punish you for not doing this now. Like that to me felt less like a fate thing and more like a leaning into the idea that the gods will be active. And again, because I knew it was Zeus, the gods will be active within this narrative and that the humans in our story are so powerless against them and will be so powerless against the gods.
Yeah.
Which is a theme in the myths a lot. And so I think it's cool to see that this storyteller is taking big swings and big creative liberties with adapting the source material, but so much still has the finger on the pulse of like what these stories are about.
Yeah.
I like that and I appreciate that. So then there's Full Speed Ahead, which is just our transition from Odysseus dropping a baby off the wall of Troy to, okay, we're going home now. Head count 600.
Let's go. Let's get out of here. It's time to go home. And then we move on to
Open Arms.
Open Arms.
What did you think about this song?
I liked it. My favorite of this saga.
Really?
Open Arms or Warrior of the Mind. It's very.
I mean, it's definitely Warrior of the Mind for me.
Yeah.
But
I liked the vibe of Open Arms. I thought it felt really good.
But that makes total sense to me. You're such an Open Arms vibes.
Yeah.
I found it frustrating and annoying the first couple times I listened to it and the first time I watched an animatic, and then I went and found another animatic.
That really just like, it lined it up for you a little bit.
Well, the first animatic made Polites a little bit too like whimsical. He was like catching butterflies on his finger and stuff like that. And I'm like, I fucking hate you. This man killed a baby 2 songs ago. Like, I do not need this. Like, oh, Odysseus, why don't you open your arms to life and be joyful? I'm like, fuck off. And then I had another one. I don't know if it was just the animatic or if I think it was I finally caught a line where I missed. Where Polites acknowledges, hey, I know you're still in war. I know that's what has left you the way you are. You're gripping. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand this song now. He's not trying to be like, life is good. It's that life doesn't have to be war.
Yeah.
And then I liked this song a lot more because I recognized what it was intentionally trying to do within the narrative, which is supposed to try to show, like, you've been at war so long, you're still acting like you're marching onto a battlefield. When we're just
it's done.
Visiting, we're just visiting a place to see if we can find some food. Like, you don't have to continue to hold your walls up and be defensive and against the world.
Yeah. Which
is perhaps a dramatic irony for audiences who know the story of the Odyssey.
Yeah.
So, how were you picturing the Lotus Eaters?
Just a group of guys.
Really? With those voices?
Yeah. Maybe like a group of kids.
Oh,
oftentimes
spooky.
Too. Just like a somewhere ranging from like 10 to 20.
Interesting.
It's just like a large group of people that in that age range, mostly on the younger end though.
Of the animatics I watched, they are all pictured as weird little gremlin creatures. Like, they're distinctly inhuman little like they don't look like Mogwai, but they're given Mogwai vibes.
Yeah.
Where they are like non-human little
tiny
island creatures. Yeah, little tiny, because their voices are high pitched and they're all talking in unison and they're really weird. And so I'm like,
but they're all eating a funky fruit.
Yeah. So I was like, hold on, what is the artistic intent behind this? Because I think it's a fair interpretation of what you hear in the songs.
Arguably.
Because they sound like weird creatures.
Yeah.
They don't sound human.
No.
So I think the animatics are reflecting it. And I'm like, is that the artistic intent? Are the Lotus Eaters supposed to be like a reinterpretation of a creature? Because we know they're not. We know they're just dudes.
It would be weird if they were supposed to be like interpretations of a creature, if like Odysseus and the other guy didn't like ever acknowledge it and felt weird about it.
Yeah.
They just continue to act as if everything's normal.
I don't know. They're surrounded and they're like, hey, if this is based like, if you attack us, we're going to burn this place to the fucking ground.
They're
like,
but again, he's still in war.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. Like, I got 600 people waiting for me. If I don't make it back, they will attack.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not here to do that, guy.
Yeah.
We got food.
And it's like, also like, hey, this is a lotus. And when it just uses realism, what this is like, it will grab your mind and never let you go.
Yeah.
It's like, And he's like, I was right. I was fucking right to be suspicious.
This is what you get for open arms.
Mm-hmm. And then Polites is like, nah, hey, I'm trying to show my friend this is good. Like, where can we get some food? And like, oh, a cave. You just sail east. Interesting. I wonder who they'll find in that cave.
I wonder
DJ.
who cave that is.
But before that, we get Warrior of the Mind.
Dude, this song starts off so Persona coded.
Really?
I don't know if you've ever heard of Persona song.
Mm-mm.
The piano, there's a horn in there every now and again. There's like a synth. It's a crazy intro. And I'm like, this is a song that I'd hear in Persona.
I mean,
and then it transitions into not that.
No, but it's a goddess entering the arena, basically. This is one I've heard the most with Athena and people doing lip syncs of it. I've seen quite a few Percy Jackson covers with Percy and Athena of the back and forth they have in the middle of the song. This one's my favorite.
It's great.
Because it's great. But it is Athena being like, hey, don't approach the world with open arms. I've trained you to close your heart, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, is this the lesson? Hey, wait, hold on. Is this the lesson?
We're going to see.
Like,
I've not listened to anything past this album, by the way. I've not listened to nothing.
Yeah,
I know nothing about this
bit.
shit.
I mean, I know bits. I know quite a bit.
Yeah.
Especially from the last run. Those popped off real hard.
Yeah.
These songs only get better. I'm really excited to meet Cersei. I'm just really excited to meet Cersei.
It's going to be great.
Not currently. Animatic I sent you.
Did
you watch that one?
I watched the Warrior of the Mind that was in color.
Oh, that's like that short segment one. Yeah, that one I follow I don't know if I follow. It showed it to me on Instagram as the artist has been working on it step by step. So it's really cool to see that. The other one I think is a really good like animatic that it introduces, and I can't remember, but all of these will be linked in the notes of this episode, y'all. I highly encourage you. But like, as Athena is talking to Odysseus, she, again, another thing you can only do in animation successfully, is she draws out like a blue thread from him. It wraps around her fingers, and she starts using it like a cat's cradle. And then she like creates an hourglass and turns it upside down. And then a version of Odysseus de-ages to the child or the young man who slayed her boar.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that design looked like Zagreus on the money. That was Zagreus.
Just a little bit.
But then we get a kick-ass training montage. The back and forth with the goddess is really great. I think his bluff where he says that I can see you. And she's like, how can you see through my spell? He's like, I was lying. You fell for it. I'm like, yeah, that's Odysseus, the wily liar right there.
Yeah,
that's his whole thing.
That's him.
Mm-hmm. There's one animatic I watched where they're fighting the boar, and Odysseus just pushes his buddy out of the way before he gets killed and stabs the boar. And then there's the other one, the one with the ribbon, where Odysseus is watching a bunch of people fight the boar. He realizes it's not bleeding anywhere except for towards its stomach, and he's like, that's its weak point. Runs, goads it into attacking him and rearing up, and then he stabs it underneath. And I really liked that element of it because I think it demonstrated the aspect of Odysseus that Athena was looking for. Yes, that wisdom, that warrior of the mind. It's not an Ares who's
taking a step back and looking at the situation and realizing what's going on.
Yeah, calculating it. She's the tactician of warfare, right? Ares will throw himself at the boar. Ares is gonna go and fight.
Ares will figure it out. He'll slice that boar in half eventually.
Until it works.
Yeah.
But Odysseus and Athena will figure out the wisest, the most effective, the most efficient way to deal with the problem. Mm-hmm. And so I like the opportunities in the animatics for the artists themselves to be interpreting the text and figuring out ways to communicate these concepts that, again, DJ, you said, there aren't descriptions, there aren't stage directions. It's entirely up to them to imagine what it is. And I dug it. And then that's it. It's the ends. And
that's the end of the Troy Saga.
The next one is the Cyclops Saga.
Yep.
I wanted to reference a little because it's a ReMyth episode, so we got to talk about where this stuff came from. I'm done talking about the baby death. We're done talking about that. I'm sick of being sad. So
we got Lotus Eaters and Athena talking to Odysseus for the...
Yeah. So we are back to referencing the Odyssey translated by Emily Wilson.
Yep.
I purchased a copy tonight because the one we used so long ago was Lucy's copy, and she moved out and took it with her, Avi. Mm-hmm. So we have one again. I'm very excited, and I marked it. I put lines in it. I'm going to use it because it's the book, and it's mine. I can just do what I want with it, and I'm going to do so. The first thing I found was I went and tracked down the passage of the Lotus Eaters. DJ, do you remember details of the Lotus Eaters when we did our episode about the Lotus Eaters so long ago? Oh my God.
That was that the first episode? Season.
No, that was season 2.
No. Lotus Eaters show up in Lightning Thief.
They do show up.
They don't show up in Sea of Monsters.
But we didn't do it then. Because we didn't.
Why wouldn't we have?
I think we forgot. I think I forgot. Let me see.
Probably.
Because here's the reason I was like, hey.
Who the fuck are the Lotus Eaters? We don't give a fuck about that. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, we were like, they don't even appear. It's fine. And then I was like, wait, that's goofy as fuck. We're doing the audit. Listen, I made a lot of silly decisions. Early on. Here we are.
Honestly, we might reformat the whole first 5 seasons into what we've been doing now.
Yeah, so that episode came out on March 29th, 2022. It was part of season 3.
Season 3? Did we just really we forgot to do Lotus Eaters, so let's go ahead and tack it on because Nico and Bianca come out of
I think we used Nico and Bianca as a reason because we're like, well, we don't understand the time travel aspect. We know more about him. That's how we justified. Anyway, so that was the first episode we recorded after my big ex breakup.
Yeah.
And that's why I laughed when I thought about it. It's the Lotus Eaters. Is time a cult? Because I think you said something about time being a cult. God, that was forever ago.
Yeah, maybe. I think I said something about Lotus Eaters being a cult.
Time.
And then we might have somehow transferred into Lotus Eaters being like some
March,
time shit.
Yeah, it was March 2022. We recorded that literally 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Anyway.
So, what do you remember about the Lotus Eaters?
They're on an island. They're
are.
eating a flower. Mm-hmm. That's kind of it. And I think that's kind of it, isn't it?
Yeah, DJ, you are right. That is in fact kind of it. In Book 9, A Pirate in a Shepherd's Cave, Odysseus is talking about how they pissed off Zeus. So he sent storms to throw their ship around for 10 days. On the 10th day, I landed on the island of those who live on food from luscious lotus. We gathered water, and my crew prepared a meal. We picnicked by the ships. Then I chose 2 men and 1 slave to make a third, to go out and scout. We needed to find out what kind of people lived there and on that island. The scouts encountered humans, Lotus Eaters, who did not hurt them.
Humans.
They just shared with them sweet, delicious fruit. But as they ate it, they lost their will to come back and bring news to me. They only wanted to stay there, feeding on the lotus with the Lotus Eaters. They'd forgotten home. I dragged them back, tears in their eyes, forced them on board the hollowed ships, pushed them below decks, and tied them up.
Yeah, humans.
Yep, and they sailed away. They're just humans who eat.
They're just guys who eat fruit.
I think one thing we talked about in that episode so long ago was like, do we think the Lotus Eaters are intentionally malicious?
No.
In giving the fruit, or are
I think
they
just like, yeah, dude. I think somebody eats the fruit and they're like, oh, hey, this is pretty good, but it's fucking their mind up to where they only kind of want to eat the fruit, and so now they only want to share the fruit. But I don't think it's like a malicious intent.
They're trying.
I think it's just
they literally
now
think
they're
this
under.
Is so good.
Yeah, they just think it's
share
good
it with everybody.
Yeah, they just think it's good, and they eat it, and all they want to do is sit around and eat this thing.
There is a malevolence there,
but it's not from
calculated.
The person. It's from.
It's like a drug.
It's from the plant, pretty much.
And yeah, that's so that's a change that is made between the Odyssey and Epic, is that most of the time Odysseus is just sending scouts out. He doesn't go onto the islands first. He sends someone to go. Yeah, he's not.
I'm captain.
Smart.
Are you kidding me?
He's like, I don't have to do this. Once they determine what's up, then he'll go check it out.
Yeah.
So he sends some scouts out, but in this one, I liked the opportunity of Odysseus, especially when it's being used as this like. Nothing bad happens to them on the Lotus Eater Island. Like,
they just show up. They realize, oh, this fruit's not great, so we got to get out of here.
We got to get out of here. There's nothing for us to eat here. And it demonstrates an early theme of the Odyssey of being not settling for comfort and continuing to push forward and suffer for your ultimate goal. Like if Odysseus is to return home. There are so many times in the Odyssey where he could have just settled. And been fine. And been content. But that was not what he wanted, and it's to communicate that's not what a hero should be. You should never settle for contentment. You should seek your ultimate goal. And for Odysseus, that's getting home. And that is such a core part of Odysseus as a character, especially like Epic really underlines it with like his early lines. Is like, how many times does he say Penelope in
a lot.
Horse and the Infant? So many times. It does
Penelope
not want
and
you
Telemachus.
Penelope and Telemachus. But he does bring on Epic, he brings his buddy Pilates. Not Pilates. Polites. DJ, do you want to guess how many times Polites is mentioned by name in the Odyssey?
Twice.
Once.
Yeah, I would have said once. I'm like, what if it is twice? What if it's like right at the end?
Well, if you look up on Wikipedia claims he's mentioned twice. I could only find him mentioned by name one time.
Maybe that's only in Emily Wilson.
Nah, because I found a PDF, because that's how I control F search this man's name.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So he is first mentioned in Book 10, The Winds and the Witch, when they hit up Circe's island. Oh, wait, we're not going to get too into this, because obviously Circe appears later, and I'm really excited to hear her song in full, because I've only heard bits of it. But I so desperately want to do a Circe lip sync to this song. I just don't, like, if I'm going to do it, I want to do a full ornate Circe, and not like my cosplay goddesses, so, like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So he is one of the men who goes to scout Circe's island first. And they like break up into 2 groups, and he's part of the group that actually finds Circe at her house. And and they see her singing. Or, God, Cersei's so fucking cool. Panning it. We'll get to Cersei. But they see her working on her loom. And then Polites, my most devoted and most loyal man, a leader to his peers, said, "Friends, inside someone is weaving on that massive loom and singing so the floor resounds. Perhaps a woman or a goddess. Let us call her."
What a choice, brother.
And bold choice. But I can see how this one passage becomes the version of the character we're getting in Epic.
And it's like, it'll probably be good.
It'll probably be fun. Like that.
A nice glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, there's a lady in there. She's just working and singing. Let's say hi. What's the worst that can happen?
You get turned into pigs.
Turn into pigs. But is the most devoted and most loyal man. Because in the song, he refers to him as his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that we're taking this like very small element and it gets expanded into like this full character that, based on what I've seen, is pretty popular among fans. They seem to like this guy a lot.
Oh, excited.
It said, and when on Wikipedia and other places where it claimed he was mentioned twice, it said the second time is that he goes to Odysseus after they've been on Cersei's island for a year. And are like, man, we gotta go. This has been nice. We need to leave. But in that passage, I didn't find him mentioned by name. Here it is. It's a few stanzas later. They stayed for a full year, but when the year was over, when months had waned and the seasons turned, and each long day passed its course, my loyal men called to me and said, "Be guided by the gods. Now it's time to think of our own country. If you are fated to survive and reach your high-roofed house and your forefathers' land." Essentially, they're like, "Hey man, we gotta go." And so I get why it says like, "Oh, my loyal men," and I think it's reasonable to assume Polites was part of that group, but he's not actually mentioned by name. He's only been mentioned by name, again, from what I can find, one time. And if that's wrong, and it's a different translation mentions him by name twice, or it's somewhere else in the book.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Maybe it's only Emily Wilkins Wilson's who only says his name once. Yeah. Other and maybe more common ones mention him twice.
I found I checked one. I found just like a English translation online that's not hers to try to control P and look through the Cersei section to see if his name is mentioning it, and I couldn't find it. So if anybody else like has a translation or knows what that's referring to, but I think it's pretty bold to take a guy who's mentioned by name one time in this whole book and turn him into the best friend of your protagonist. Much respect.
Big fan.
Big fan. Last, do you want to unpack the bond between Athena and Odysseus a little bit?
Sure.
So, DJ, would you believe that boar thing didn't actually happen in myth?
Yeah.
It's a great story, though.
I assume it's, oh God, what's the name of the boar? What is the name of that boar? It starts with an H.
It does not start with an H. It starts with a C or an E, because there are two of them.
The Euclidean boar.
Yeah.
Wait, actually?
Crushed it.
Euclidean?
Close. I don't think it's Euclidean, actually. Once you questioned it, I was like, let me...
Like, Euclidean is not the term for that.
No, you're right. You're right. I have it... I actually have a web page pulled up.
The Caledonian boar?
Erymantian boar. Erymantian boar. Yeah. So the Caledonian boar was sent by the goddess Artemis, and the Erymantian boar was one of Hercules' labors. So I think obviously it is Rivera Herene's combining those two elements and reincorporating them into an Odysseus backstory.
Yeah.
To be like, because that is a thing that's never answered. Why is
Athena is so interested in Odysseus?
Yeah. And in the Odyssey, I think it's just meant to be because, well, he's very quick-witted. He's very quick-witted. He's cunning. He's wily. He's wise. And those are traits that Athena would find valuable in a human. And so it's like she is his patron goddess because of who he is. Mm-hmm. But I really like giving more of this backstory of him proving himself and demonstrating early on, and him also having a more personal relationship with the goddess. Yeah. Because while Athena is advocating for Odysseus a lot, and at the beginning of the Odyssey, like working with his son and getting him off of Calypso's, oh look, I did it too! Calypso's island. she does it, and like disguising him when he's going to different places. He doesn't like speak with the goddess until towards the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it bookmarked, so the first time Odysseus actually like speaks to Athena, like they have a fucking conversation, is book 13, Two Tricksters. And essentially she disguises herself and is speaking with Odysseus, and he doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't actually know he's back on Ithaca yet because she's disguised it from him. She calls him a clever rascal, so duplicitous, so talented at lying. You love fiction and tricks so deeply, you refuse to stop even in your own land. Yes, both of us are smart. No man can plan and talk like you, and I am known amongst the gods for insight and craftiness. You fail to recognize me. I am Athena, child of Zeus. I always stand near you and take care of you in all your hardships. And she tells him all the ways she helped him. And so I like this change in the musical of Athena being like right there from the jump, and her not just being a prominent character for us, the audience, to know is pulling strings, but like for Odysseus to have this back and forth. But yeah, I thought that was cool.
That's fun. I am excited to listen to the rest of these. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to have a good time. Definitely this one, I would rank it Warrior of the Mind, and then Just a Man, because that middle sequence where he's describing like, when does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a flame? When does a man become a monster? It's my favorite animatic of the Warrior of the Mind changes where the song takes place. Where instead of her, Athena, calling out Odysseus when he's on the island and trying to be like, being essentially like, Policies is trying to be like, hey man,
loosen up a little bit.
And she's like, don't you fucking dare.
Don't drop your guard.
Don't drop your guard. Fuck. The animatic I really like has it take place in between Horse and the Infant and Just a Man, where she steps in and is like, hey man, don't let me down. This is not what I trained you to be. You better step up. And you're like, wait, you're telling him not to kill the baby? But then she hands him back a sword at the end of it. Like, you are telling him to kill the baby.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I think it's a much stronger opening and end for an isolated animatic. I think in terms of narrative, I would instantly be like, I don't think we're supposed to like Athena. Like, it's just...
No, for me, it'd be like, yeah, she trained him to be a warrior.
Yeah, don't hesitate. You're supposed to be a warrior of
like, you're supposed to have the ability to see the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is this baby has to die or else it will grow up and kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's interesting. It is also just an interesting placement to have. But I think having it here, where it actually is in the narrative after the Open Arms song, is meant to, like, communicate that Athena doesn't want Odysseus to leave the battlefield.
Yeah.
Like, he's off the battlefield. He won. And she's not saying, hey, go pick a fight, go find another war to fight. But she's essentially saying, you can
keep your guard up.
You have to always keep your guard up.
You're the king of Ithaca. You just, in general, you do have to keep your guard up because you're a king, but also.
Yeah, well, see, that would be, like, is it, like, supposed to be, like, I guess we'll see as the story progresses, like, is this perception, is Athena's idea of what it represents to be a warrior of the mind, like, are we, the audience, supposed to agree and think she's right, or is it a flawed message that she as a character over the course of the narrative will learn and change and decide? She says, like, I am meant to do this one thing. Will she find a different purpose? And that's also why I like Athena appearing actively so early on, because it makes her a character. And characters get arcs, and I'd like Athena to get an interesting arc. So, hey, this is fun.
This is great. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Next up is
Look forward to the next 16 episodes.
There's not that many. There's like 9?
Yeah, look at next 9 months, all the way through the end of the year.
Well, because we've got May and October have
Lore Olympus. And
December is always Muses.
Yep.
And then we've already done January.
This is February. March, April, June, July, August, September, November. So yes, the rest of this year is, in fact.
Is that crazy?
No.
Hey.
Actually, November. I think it's actually through to January. I think I counted 8.
Well, that would kick us doing a Moon Knight ReMyth episode way far back, and
we're definitely going to be doing that later.
Well,
how about
our patrons in the Discord were
every other month? Run it.
Oh, I like that. Except these next ones will definitely be this because we are behind.
Yeah, the next 2
March and April will definitely be this.
This one, the one after, and the one after that are all going to be epic. And then after that, we're going to be going every other month. And if it happens to fall on one of our already preordained ones, either the next month or we'll just skip it that time. I don't know.
We'll figure out what we're
doing. We'll figure it out.
But yeah, I don't know if you saw the Discord. Folks are really excited about us doing a Moon Knight episode.
Yeah.
Like, very much excited for us to do a Moon Knight episode.
I've never seen it, so.
Me neither. I guess we got to watch it.
Yeah, right.
Probably got to, because there's only one thing that Khonshu's in, and Standby Line wants to come in for a full episode, so we're not going to fold that guy into something else. So he's getting his own thing, so we better watch Moon Knight, or we're going to have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's going to be a ReMyth episode on Moon Knight just alone. That's what the concept is going to be about. That's all that's going to happen. I know it.
The actual main feed episode is 15 minutes, and then we pivot into, so come over to join us on the Patreon for Moon Knight. Anyway, yeah. But that's what we're doing now. Thank you. Hey, thanks for your patience. Y'all are so nice. Thanks for never making me feel bad about these not coming out as promptly. But you always get them in the end. Yeah,
we get to them eventually.
And it'll be fun. DJ, as we go forward, you haven't heard any. Is there any part of the Odyssey that you are hoping or looking forward to seeing adapted for this piece? Oh, he's smiling.
I'm a sucker for the Ithaca Massacre. I really am.
Oh, shit. Really?
I'm a real sucker for that.
Should we unpack that? We'll put a pin in that.
Dude, something about a dude showing up and being like, you guys have been causing mischief. Fuck all of you.
See, but you called it the Ithaca Massacre.
Because it is.
That's not the wrong way to phrase it, but it just kind of felt like the thing you liked was that he killed everybody, but it's actually like, hey, you guys have been fucking around and I'm going to have vengeance.
It's vengeance by massacring everybody.
Yeah, the vengeance of like these.
Like, it's a mix of like, yeah, of course, like I like getting like yes, but also, something about just like a dude murdering 30 people. Just, he's drenched in blood by the end of that.
And then he sees Penelope afterwards.
And then he's like, what's good? First time. How about we get in our wedding bed that I planted and we get a sibling for Telemachus.
I've always said Telemachus too. They use the pronunciation of Telemachus, and I'm definitely going to switch to Telemachus because I'm just going to hear it so many times.
I'm not. It's going to be Telemachus.
Fair. All right.
I heard Nut so many times, I'll still say Newt, Darren. It doesn't matter.
That's fair, for sure. Thank you all again so much. Extra shout out to our God tier level patrons, Tim O'Connor, the Crystal Conman, and Nicholas Miller. If you wanted to adapt a video game based off of a mythic adaptation that you created as your thesis project, we would totally play that game.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Bye.